the games from last night, we have a feast and we check out the magic child, a secret signing. We'll tell you more. And we've also got plenty of other things happening. But right now, we've got highlights from Friday's big games. Townsville hosted Canberra on the first leg of its Sunshine Swing, and the home team was out to nail this one from the start, taking a 32-27 quarter-time lead. Half-time, it blew to 16 points. A 10-point quarter from Siobhan Scales tightened it up a little in the third before the Suns steadied the ship. Rucker and Tyson combined for 27 points in the final quarter. Rucker finished with 35, Tyson 37 and 18 boards. Borner top scored for Canberra with 21, Townsville 124, Canberra 115. The Tigers took on the Giants at Flinders Park, and their desperation to stay in the 8 showed. Andrew Gaze was powering, 20 assists with his 32 points, thank you. Melbourne, led by 3 first quarter, were blown away as the Giants shot 40 in the second, and after that it tightened up. Who else but Gaze and Copeland led a shower of baskets in the final quarter to take it out, 123 to 108. Brisbane started its doomsday double in Adelaide, and the Sixers really are rejuvenated. They led 31-22 first quarter, withstood a Bullets comeback in the second and outscored them again in the third. Brisbane just couldn't turn it around in spite of Leroy Loggins' 24. The Bullets' 2 for 19 perimeter shooting didn't help either. Adelaide 102, Brisbane 91. And in Hobart, the Falcons won 82-74 to strengthen their top 4 claims. Smith, Hayes and Jensen all shot 16. Jerome Scott top scored for Hobart with 21. And here now the Mitsubishi. Well, was it marvellous Melbourne's sudden 3, shocking the snake pit and blunting the Bullets.
Wow. When you're hot, you're hot.
Andre's angry avalanche aggravating the Tigers.
Oh, we've been waiting a while to see that one happen. With authority.
Or was it Sam McKinnon at his slamming best at Flinders Park? Incredible reflex alley-oop.
Alley-oop! Oh, my goodness. Oh, McKinnon.
Aim for this afternoon. One of many big games this weekend in the Mitsubishi Challenge of 1995. The Sydney Kings taking on the Illawarra Hawks. A vital game for the Hawks. The way things are going, they can break into the top 4 with a win this game. And the Kings, well, we know the story. It's been happening for weeks. They are desperate, Steve Carfino, after things going against them last night. Wins to Adelaide and Melbourne, which makes things even tougher to get into the 8.
Well, it's going to be tough for them all year. They've got to just take care of business right here and right now against the Illawarra Hawks. A good game for them against the Super Cats in a desperate situation last week. Came out with a win. For the Illawarra Hawks, they're favored tonight, and they haven't been favored against the Sydney Kings in the Kingdom for a long time. Let's see how comfortable they are with that.
Good win a couple of weeks back to Illawarra. They really put it to the Kings.
They sure did. The Illawarra Hawks played an excellent game against the Sydney Kings, even though the Sydney Kings came out and started off very well. Brad Williams dunked from the high post when the Illawarra Hawks started to zone him, but this is the type of stuff the Sydney Kings were doing very well, very early. They started off well, hitting 7 of their first 9 shots, and then the Hawks went to a zone, and it was all Illawarra Hawks after that.
And they have had wins since against Southeast Melbourne, Brisbane. They are a very, very tough outfit in 1995, Illawarra. And as you pointed out, they are no longer entitled to be underdogs. That man, Alan Black, has got them in terrific shape.
Well, they're playing some great basketball, not just in the snake pit, but all around the league, wherever they seem to go. They've got a pretty decent record on the road as well, and they are legitimate contenders.
The keys, of course, the imports, Melvin Thomas and Andre Lafleur. However, it's the role players that Alan Black has firing.
He sure does. Those guys are coming out. Terry Johnson's having a great year. Andre Lafleur, that man, was telling me about how good the rest of the team is playing, and they're doing a good job.
All right, here it is.
Well, for the Sydney Kings, you can see right there, they definitely have to change the tempo of the game because the Illawarra Hawks are the best shooting team in the league. They shoot best from the field, just over 51%, and they also shoot the best in the league from outside the three-point line.
Okay, time now to look at the lineups, and we'll see that they match up fairly interestingly.
Well, the Sydney Kings are going to start with Greg Hubbard and Damian Keogh. That's the same backcourt they use ever since Phil Smythe has been out. And then that 3-forward attack with Mark Dalton, Leon Trimmingham, and Bruce Bolden lines up at center.
The Illawarra Hawks have Terry Johnson, formerly of the Cairns Marlins, and before that he played with his brother Rod at North Melbourne. Andre Lafleur, one of the form point guards in the league. Dean McDonald into the starting 5, alongside Melvin Thomas and, of course, the veteran Chuck Harmison at the pivot.
For the bench for the Sydney Kings, Dean Uthoff should give them some big rebounding. Justin Withers trying to find that shot and give them some scoring spark. Brad Williams, very versatile on both ends of the floor. Neil Turner's not getting much time, but Brad Rosen, let's see if Bob Turner uses him tonight with all that quickness he possesses.
Well, the Hawks have a lot of youth on the bench. You've got Yerbury, Saville, Rattel, Brandon, Mick Corcoran, of course, 27 years of age with a little more experience. Likewise, Stephen Boss, who's been in great form. A career milestone for one of the best imports to play here in recent years. There it is, 50 for Leon Trimmingham, 26.6 a game, 5th best in the NBL at 54%. In fact, his all-round stats, Steve Carfino, have been superb.
They sure have, and one of the things the Sydney Kings want to do is establish what they did actually down in Wollongong last time they played, getting the basketball into Leon Trimmingham and Bruce Bolden early to establish that inside game from the outset.
Here we go with the tip-off, full start. Now they're underway thanks to Mal Cooper and Bruce Bolden. Holds it up, nice inside pass. Trimmingham lays it in. Sydney off to a quick start.
And here we talk about those changing of defenses. They want to get the Illawarra Hawks out of their stuff and not let them run their patterned offense.
Terry Johnson with a lot of strapping on that right knee of his. That's Andre Lafleur. Chuck Harmison, the fadeaway jumper, bounces in. Chuck, in fact, made an early exit in 2 of Illawarra's recent big wins against the Magic and Brisbane, which just shows how deep the roster goes now. Chuck, an integral part of the team. Bolden hits a similar shot baseline to give Sydney back the lead. Let's hope Chuck can stay on the court this time. There he is.
Kings go right, first 2 possessions to Leon into Bruce Bolden, right down in the low post.
Mark Dalton putting the heavies on Melvin Thomas, who's sporting a bit more hair than usual.
Well, it's going to take a little bit more than that to rattle the Illawarra Hawks. The very 2 times the Sydney Kings extended that 1-2-2 pressure back into a 1-2-2. The Illawarra Hawks go right into the middle.
Harmison hits another one, ties the game at 4 points.
And that's exactly how you beat a zone, is you get somebody in the middle that's a threat. Damian Keogh for a big 3, just off the mark.
Good rebound. Dalton feeds Keogh again for 3. Baseline. Sydney leads 7-4. Damian Keogh clocking up 400 NBL games last week into the long break at the Sydney Entertainment Centre. For the game. What a game he's had after a pretty slow start. Took him a while to get used to the Kings, and I made the comment much earlier that even though he was in double figures. Now here's Hubbard and Andre Lafleur. It's igniting. We pointed it out earlier, and I think that's a season of frustration showing up there. And it's not Andre Lafleur's frustration. That's for sure. He's had a wonderful year. Trimmingham, well, even he can't find range. Bolden is monstered by the Hawks. Draws the foul. But the Hawks, considering the foul count, that it was clean. 6-point lead. They don't get the roll to make it 8. Bolden is hurt. Mal Cooper says keep it going. So Illawarra get the ball. Harmison banks it. They go out to an 8-point lead. Bruce Bolden calling for a foul. Mal Cooper says no. Well, that was a very important play for the Hawks.
Well, this is a very big play right there. Bruce Bolden hit in the mouth by Terry Johnson, loses the basketball.
And a turnover at the other end. Illawarra a champ. And Illawarra don't think they can't do some damage in the playoffs this year. They've beaten Brisbane, they've beaten Southeast Melbourne. Dean McDonald misses the shot, but he doesn't care. Damien Keogh does, because if he retires at the end of the year, it'll be a lot sooner, because Sydney will not be in the playoffs. Dean Utah probably realises that in his last season. Andre Lafleur, though, looking ahead. Illawarra with much greater things to come in 1995. And there are the fans. Well, it was worth the trip. 105-93, and marvellous Melbourne joins in the celebration. 105-93. Let's go to Steve Carfino with Dre.
We could feel it all night in the air. Illawarra versus the Sydney Kings, and this was not a letdown. What did Alan Black say to you guys at halftime?
Well, he just pointed out that we were really soft in the first half. Sydney came out to their credit. They threw everything at us, and they played really well. They were very physical, and we weren't very aggressive. So he just told us to get back to playing that aggressive, scrapping style of basketball that's been winning us some games.
Well, how about you? You started off a little slow in the scoring department. Did you look to score in the second quarter?
Not really. I just wanted to, keep things going with the continuity that we had on the team. I thought that there were options for other guys. We missed some shots early, but they played great defense in the first quarter, and I felt that they really put us out of our offense a lot.
How about you? Do you feel like this team is a playoff contender now? You sure played like it tonight in the second half.
Well, we've beaten some good teams. We've beaten a lot of first-place teams that were first place that week. We're getting contributions all the way down our bench, and a lot of people don't notice that. I think that we do have some depth, and we're getting a lot of contributions from everybody. So if we get into the playoffs, everyone will have some court time, under their belts.
Well, what's the magic number now after this win against the Kings? How many games do you have to win to get into the playoffs?
Well, we're really going one game at a time. I think 13-13. Some teams will probably get in with 12 and 14, but right now with 13 wins and 8 losses, we're going against Townsville next weekend. That's our toughest game of the season because it's our next game. And then we have Brisbane, Adelaide twice, and Perth. I think we have a real tough road ahead of us.
Well, congratulations. You played a great game tonight.
Thank you very much, Steve.
All right, Billy. All right. Back to you, Billy.
Thank you, Steve, and thank you, Andre Lafleur. Yet another sensation at the on Sunday Basketball. And welcome back to Sunday Basketball. We've still got plenty, so hang in there. Some of the league stars will hit the road. Timmy Bailey went along, and we have the Magic Man revealing the team's latest recruit. It's a big one. Well, it's kind of a little one too. First up, though, we have the games.
Games of the week.
Well, Brisbane picked a pretty bad time to embark on the Doomsday Double. Only 2 teams had ever won both games, and to make it worse, Adelaide and Perth have been in great form. Friday, the Bullets took on Adelaide. Last night, it was the Wildcats' turn.
Last night's loss to Adelaide resulted in Brisbane handing over top spot to Perth, and with matches against the current 3rd, 4th and 5th place teams in the remaining weeks of the season, the Bullets needed a win. James Crawford's season's average of 16 looked in trouble when he dunked, shot and blocked his way to 13 points in the opening 5 minutes. Brisbane were methodical through Leroy Loggins and in particular rookie sensation John Riley. Both teams executed their offence pretty well, backed up with sound D. At quarter time, Brisbane by 4, 31-27. Perth snatched back the lead with 3 three-pointers courtesy of Martin Catalini and 2 from Anthony Stewart. Not to be outdone, Loggins' 15th point found the net and the lead. Trehair got into the act and Ricky Grace fully tested out his injured ankle as more headliners combined to put the scoreboard pressure on Perth. The feature of the quarter, though, was a 3-point shooting, which led to 71 points being scored. At half-time, Perth 66, Brisbane 63. Adrian Hurley wanted more defensive intensity in the 3rd quarter. He got it, and with it came more fluency in offense, better spacing, and a 12-point lead.
There's that man Hill popping up with a 3. They don't want him to get too high. That was his first score of the night, believe that.
Brisbane steadied, but struggled to peg back the deficit. With a quarter to go, Perth by 13, 97-84. Robert Sibley's inspirational 8-point for the 4th quarter triggered an aggressive fight back by a hustling D as Brisbane went on a 20-6 run and a 1-point lead, 104-103. The 2 teams then went blow for blow with 8 lead changes in the last 3 minutes. Crawford's free throws gave them a 1-point lead, and Trahair's 15th point sealed the game. Brisbane were courageous, while Perth overcame a psychological barrier when under siege, and their prize, sole top billing.
Terrific match, this one. Like a grand final, do you mind?
Well, who knows? Shane Heal had a season-low 6 points, which gave him just 19 for the entire weekend. He's been averaging 25 per game. Perth outshot Brisbane 48% to 27% from the three-point line, courtesy of 4 of 6 from Anthony Stewart. Perth have now won all 6 matches this year that have been decided by 3 points or less. They are tough, in other words. Continuing his mad scramble through the league's loopiest characters, Tim Bailey managed to survive a few loops of Sydney's Eastern Creek racetrack. The result? Hair-raising.
The basketball court, an adrenaline pit of noise and high performance. Somewhere to see fast breaks and burning rubber.
You passed him again!
Somewhere a million miles removed from Eastern Creek Raceway, where noise and high performance, fast breaks and burning rubber sure ring a bell. Well, this is where basketball and bitumen comes together. Dribblers trying to be drivers. Enter Damien Keogh, 400-game NBLer. Put him in a 2-litre Super Tourer. Wind it up to 250 kilometres an hour. Throw him into a savage corner. And, well, he's thinking more about slamming on the brakes than slam dunking. Damo, a few butterflies in the tummy?
Absolutely. I mean, we're just pulling a couple of G-forces going around that corner out of the straight, and like, it's just amazing. Thank God for seatbelts, but the stomach was churning, but exhilarating ride.
Can you draw a parallel between that and what you do?
Not in terms of speed. I'm not renowned for my speed, but I think you'd have to say it'd be like standing on the free throw line with scores tied, 1 second to play in front of 10,500 people and having to pot a winning basket. I mean, that's what it's like. No wonder these guys get into it, mate. Speed thrills.
Eastern Creek is a long way from the free throw line, although Keogh is a guard about to find top gear. Whether he likes it or not, that's another question. So it's pedal to the metal, tummy through the blender. Keogh's Reeboks have never gone faster. I think his pants are off to the dry cleaners. Then it happened. There was always going to be a downside to this story. My turn. This is all about straight line speed, 250 kilometres an hour, 230 going round corners. This is all about raw courage, putting your life on the line. Just one question. What am I doing here? One-on-one, a car and a coward, flat chat at the creek. Even at 250 k's an hour, an engine roaring like a jet, I could still hear Keogh laugh. Starting to puff a bit. Get a little bit nervy. Making an extra breakfast. Really a little bit ordinary. You puff and you pant. It's like you're free-falling when you go into corners. What part of the words never again don't you understand? Then it was big Bruce Bolden who hoped the tyres were holding. Speed's your game?
It will be today. Normally I'm just sort of a laid-back, cool sort of guy, but today, hey, let's do it.
All right, get in there, son. That mad mob they call race drivers talk about G-forces. Keogh, Bolden and Bailey now know what they mean. G-forces. Gee, it's good we're still alive.
Our next game is rather similar. Another death or glory affair for the Sydney Kings, fighting to squeeze into the playoffs. Top 4 prospect Illawarra has collected some pretty big scalps in recent weeks, and during that streak gave the Kings a walloping they won't forget in a hurry. Would this be revenge or the absolute condemnation of Sydney's season?
It was the best start for Sydney this year, shutting down the Hawks with a mix of full-court pressure on playmaker Andre Lafleur and a zone. Kings up by 31-16 at one stage. Trimmingham was in great form.
Alley-oop! Trimmingham! A rare play for the Sydney Kings, but that one was a pearler.
He had 12 points for the quarter, and the Kings were cruising. Second quarter, and marvellous Melvin Thomas produced the dunk of the year.
Up on Withers, they double team him, but he makes a sensational baseline dunk.
Oh, watch this spin move, baseline.
Swapped hands
And
in the
again.
process.
Pow!
Oh, wow.
This is like Batman.
But the Kings still kept the lead. In fact, it blew out to 17, and they were out rebounding the Hawks 2-1. Andre Lafleur tried to lead the Hawks back repeatedly, only to concede more points on transition. Sydney led by 13 at the long break, their biggest halftime lead of the year. But then in the third quarter, a huge run from the Hawks. Andre passed his 2,500 NBL points, and Melvin Thomas's three gave them the lead for the first time in the game, 64-63. The Kings tried hard to regain momentum, but the Hawks playmaker, Andre Lafleur, would not let the game get away. Melvin Thomas, tied to an unfamiliar 7 boards for the game, was carving chaos inside. The Hawks also continued to lift their perimeter game. Once their lead moved into double figures, that was it. With players like Harmison and Dean McDonald contributing, Illawarra sailed away to a certain date with the playoffs.
Well, it was the Hawks' best ever second-half comeback. Melvin Thomas unleashed 25 second-half points, his best second half of the year. He also hit 11 of 11 from the line in that period. Sydney out-rebounded Illawarra 52-39, but they committed 23 turnovers to 12, most of those, of course, in the second half. Well, the big matches just keep on coming. Geelong and North Melbourne were headed for a collision at the arena. Last year at this venue, Mark Leader sank a buzzer-beating 3 to kill the Cats. Well, this time Geelong simply had to win it.
A depleted Geelong side was minus import Joey Wright, Andrew Speldennis and Cecil Exum. But it paved the way for others like Greg Smith. Smith on the drive, in off the glass, confident stuff, young Greg Smith. Jeff Arnold stamped his authority on the game early and the Super Cats led. Arnold! Hey! It was tough, Johnson feeling the effects.
We see Rod Johnson caught one in the mush.
With the Cats' season on the line, they were attacking at every opportunity and led by 9 points at quarter time. The start of the second term saw the Giants step up a gear. He drives strong through traffic, Matt Shanahan for 2. Midway through the term, they hit the lead. Gent, the game-high scorer, with 20. Great outlet pass.
Oh, my! Oh, now that was handy.
Protecting an 8-point half-time lead, the Giants' quick transition extended their advantage. The Super Cats looked outside for scorers, but the Giants were just too slick, answering every challenge. Great stuff! The last quarter saw the Giants' advantage grow. The same can't be said for the courtside Flowers. Graham, great stuff, Jen. Ooh, hit the hoarding, the pot plants, someone copped
Oh, that would have hurt.
The buzzer couldn't have come quick enough for Geelong. The Giants back on the winners list with a 13-point win.
Wow, the Giants held a remarkable 54-31 rebounding advantage. They also took 92 shots to the Super Cats 79. Chris Gent had a 17-point second quarter, spearheading a 33-16 Giants turnaround after Geelong did have a lead in that first break. Well, we've got more, including highlights from the other games, of course, and plenty. Newcastle continued its weekend road trip in Melbourne, where the Magic were trying to restore their championship lead. Adonis Jordan was busy as usual. His matchup with Butch Hayes, one of several features of this great game. But this matchup was perhaps the key. Reggie Smith against the Magic front line. The home team led 30-28 at the first break. Little miss there, but nice clean up from Darren Lucas. Newcastle made a big move in the second quarter. Butch gets Sean Dennis free off the penetration for a perimeter shot. They led by 8 at half-time. John Dorge was having a great contest with Reggie Miller. Here he is. Fadeaway jump shot over the top. Mike Johnson hit 4 first-half threes. That was one of them. Tony Ronaldson answering, coming through, had 8 in the second quarter and 11 in the third. Sam McKinnon with a little jump shot, banks it, and the Magic is on the way back. They outscored the Falcons in the third quarter. Smith and Dorge go at it again. Reggie missing the shot, tips it in. He's happy about that one. Was this a goaltend? I don't think so. It hit the rim first, but the refs blew it up anyway. Another one-on-one win for Long John. This was a great climax. Here he is posting up on Smith. Over the top, down it goes. And Ronaldson also having a great tussle. Look at them go at it, 1 for 1. And there's Ronaldson with that big bomb. And the Magic is still in this game. It was so close. Kruger gets inside for 2. A little bit of mismatch there. And Adonis gets 2 of his fairly quiet 14 points, but he kept Butch to 16. The Falcons survived. Well, don't get too excited. Reggie Miller wasn't playing in that game. I meant Reggie Smith, of course. Tony Jensen passed 1,000 NBL points. Good on you, Tony. 7 Newcastle players scored in double figures. 6 Magic players also hit 10 or more. They are 2 very good teams. Since the Magic formed in 1992, the Falcons have won 3 of their meetings, and they were all by just 2 points. A few weeks back, South East Melbourne coach Brian Goorjian decided he didn't need Scooter Barry for his second import spot. They don't even have a second import. Now we know the real reason Brian had lined up a new signing, a top secret talent who could be the Rookie of the Year. Who else but the Magic Man to tell us the details?
Thanks, Bill. Look, I don't know if you've heard about the youth policy in Magic, but I think Brian Goorjian's gone a bit too far. Follow me in this way.
Jamie, what do you think we should do about Andrew Gaze and Leonard Copeland?
Parkinson. Play Parky more? Yeah, he'll agree with you on that. That's not a bad idea. I think we're thinking about doing that a little bit tonight. Get him in there to shoot the 3. We're going to need that. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, I'm sorry, Brian, about this. I'm very... Jamie, you better come through. Please, have a good game tonight.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Hey, Jamie, thanks for the tips. Thanks for the tips.
Say goodbye. Bye-bye, Brian. Bye-bye. So bye-bye, Tony. Bye-bye, Tony. Have a good game, Tony. Excellent.
See you later.
This way. Sorry to interrupt. Have a good game, boys. I think Brian has gone too far, Jamie. You've got to come with me, all right?
Good afternoon and welcome to Sunday Basketball with the sensational news that the South East Melbourne Magic have added a new player to their roster for today's game against the Tigers. Jamie de Boucherville is just 2 years old and knee-high to a grasshopper. He's only light in the weight department, but by all reports, very athletic and elusive. Let's go courtside for the introduction.
Please welcome out Jamie de Boucherville. Let's get ready for Waco.
Get ready to wiggle. We've been ready for so long. Get ready to wiggle. When you wiggle, go wrong. Get ready to wiggle. The wiggle will make you big and strong. Get ready to wiggle. Wiggle to this song. Wiggle to this song.
It's wiggle time.
Now we're ready to wiggle. Wiggle your fingers high in the sky. We're ready to wiggle. Wiggle your ears and wiggle your eyes. We're ready to wiggle. Wiggle your hair and wiggle your nose.
Yeah,
We're ready to wiggle. Wiggle on 10 toes. Wiggle on 10 toes.
Well, I tell you what, Bill, it's been a very big night here for the Magic. A big win, and of course, all down to the brand new recruit of the Magic, Jamie, and the big Magic Man saying a very, very, very good night. Bye-bye. Let's wave goodbye, Jamie. Bye-bye.
Thanks, fellas. Get them young, bring them on. That's Brian's policy. Well, now the Gold Coast, they have had a few problems this year. They take on Canberra on the second leg of its Sunshine Swing. This was a landmark game for one of the league's promising players. John Zaghetti had an 8-point first quarter. Nice little fadeaway jump shot there, rolls down, and he kept that form going for the entire match. Peter Hill also made a fine comeback from injury, and the Gold Coast led by 10 at the first break. Second quarter, and look at Brett Flanagan. He dug the Spurs in. Cofield had been kept scoreless. Scales had only 2 points, and Brett was, well, a little displeased, and the result was fairly good, though. Good ball movement from the Cannons. Wachowski finally left alone on the perimeter and strokes the three. Now, Hill and Zaghetti combined very well on this play. Hill dishes it. Zaghetti hits another jump shot. But Canberra, though, was coming back. They trailed by only 6 at the long break. Perlman hits a 3. Scales also picked up his scoring. Nice penetration from Cofield. Scales with a bit of room. Skirts the D and jams. Cofield, however, scoring-wise, was the big improver. He hit 11 for that quarter. Here's 3 of them. Now, another nice play. Cofield again sets up a jam for Simon Dwight. One of several big plays as Canberra went into the final quarter, only a few points down. And from there, they outscored the Rollers 29-23. Cofield pots another 3-pointer. Uncontested, banks it, but he called it anyway. Torrance was active as usual. Runs off the screen, hits a 3. They were still in this right to the end, the Rollers. Canberra's desperation, though, finally produced a win. Close hits there. Herzog fouls out. He failed to score in the last quarter. That was a big factor. Perlman, though, finishes off a very gallant Gold Coast with a 3. Freddie Cofield set a new Canberra assists record with 19. He hit 7 of 11 three-pointers in the end. John Zaghetti, though, had a career-high 31 and was 2 assists away from a triple-double. They were deserved sharing of the MVP. Semi-final time in the Women's National League last night. Adelaide Mitsubishi Challenge began what was going to be a very bad weekend for the Brisbane Bullets. Newcastle, the opposite. They were starting a weekend double win. Melbourne Tigers knocked off North Melbourne, and Townsville had a win, which they often do these days. Perth won in the second of the Brisbane games. Newcastle made it 2 wins on the road. North Melbourne split their weekend after winning in Geelong. And in the other 2 results in the Mitsubishi Challenge, Canberra beat the Gold Coast. They needed that one, splitting the Sunshine Swing, and Illawarra knocked Sydney into oblivion. All right, time now to check the around Australia. Goodbye.
And death's the final word. Life's a laugh and death's a joke, it's true. You'll see it's all a show. Keep 'em laughing as you go. Just remember that the last laugh is on you. And always look on the bright side of life. Always look on the right side of life. Come on, Brian, cheer up.